Are you tired of sitting on the sidelines watching opportunities pass you by? You know you have what it takes, but something's missing. It could be doubt, confidence, or fear that you're not representing your best self. Whatever it is, it stops now. It's time to align your passion with your purpose and seize the opportunities that await you. I want to see you get back in the game. So join me and my expert guests as we talk all things image, branding, and a bit of entrepreneurship. So if you're ready to gain insightful tips, tools, and strategies to help you amplify your presence and define your impact for greater success, sit with us as we talk about it. Welcome back to the Image Connection Show, where we go beneath the surface of image, branding, and presence to help you live and lead with impact. I'm your host, Jenny Dewberry, certified international image, personal brand coach, and consultant. I am so glad to have you all here with me today and my guest. The Image Connection Show is a conversation-driven show where we explore how our inner alignment impacts our outer influence, opportunities, and our leadership presence. Everything we do, from how we speak to how we present ourselves, is influenced by what's going on the inside. And when those barriers are not checked, they quietly sabotage our confidence, again, our leadership presence, our visibility, and the opportunities that we allow ourselves to step into. And that's why this show exists, so that we can help you connect that, so that you can live and lead with impact, and so that you are understood and not just seen. Today, I have with me Kristin Haluch, and she'll correct me if I'm saying that incorrectly, but we have Kristin here with me, and Kristin has been in leadership for over 20 years. So she has 20 years of leadership experience, in which through that, she developed the Mama Bear Experience, her company. She's had that company leading people in leadership for over 10 years, and that includes 7 principles of human-centered leadership. She served on the national nonprofit boards, worked for Fortune 500 companies, to startups, and everything in between. She started her company in 2008 and offers coaching, training, and retreats for women leaders to help them harness their intuition as their greatest leadership superpower. So join me in welcoming Kristin to the show. Kristin, it's so glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this conversation and your perspective and experience in what you do, which is personal branding and leadership coaching. And so let's start here, I guess. Some of the key components of leadership. We can talk about that and then tie in personal branding and how it's connected to leadership. So I guess my first question would be, what are the key components to building a leadership presence and a personal brand within the leadership role?
Yeah, I think again, thank you for having me on the show. I teach 7 core principles of human-centered leadership. And one of them is make lifelong connections. And I believe that you make lifelong connections through your personal brand. And so I was really excited to have this conversation as well, because I think you have a personal brand, and your personal brand some people might think they have a professional version of that, and a home version of that, but you have a brand whether you're actively building it or not. People are always watching, always creating a story about you. And so if your thought of like your reputation when you're absent kind of gives you a little heartburn, it's okay. But this conversation, I think, is an invitation of that self-awareness and starting to kind of lean into that blind spot. And so for me, a personal brand, it's not like what's on your resume or your LinkedIn or how you look on your Instagram. For me, it's really a mix of your skills, your values, and your reputation. And so really being intentional about, one, knowing what those are for yourself, confidently knowing what they are, and then being able to confidently communicate them. And I find that especially women, we have a really hard time talking about ourselves, especially when we're talking about how good we are at something. We're really good at talking down on ourselves. But my mission is to get more women speaking confidently about themselves And we do some of that work through the personal branding.
And it's okay to talk about
Absolutely.
how great we are at what we do. There's a difference between boasting and just speaking confidently. I mean, how else is a person going to trust you? Know what you do, first of all, but then trust that you can do that you are going to be able to fulfill that promise of what you do if you don't talk about it. And like you said, speak about it confidently, not wavering, not feeling like you're doing too much or you're not doing enough. Sometimes, like as you said, as women, we tend to shrink because we think that sometimes we're doing too much and we don't want to be perceived as overly confident. But, there is a line. We know what that is.
Yeah, I posted about this the other day, but I was at a coffee shop and I was just clacking away doing some work. And there was a table of 3 men sitting next to me, and they seemed to be in like a networking interaction of some sort. And we could speak a lot on networking during this, since how it rolls brand, but they were networking, and they each of them went around, and I kind of turned my AirPod off, and one said, "Hi, I'm so and so. And I went to school for this because I'm amazing at math and I'm really great at it. And I started my business and I've been very successful, and I bring this to the table for you, and I hope that you can bring, whatever in return." And I thought, like, wow, like that was such a great presentation of just, he wasn't being arrogant or boastful. He was just clear, concise, to the point, and really knew his value. Like he wasn't like, well, like I do marketing, but like it's a side project, so
Right.
I was like, wow, I got online after. I was like, every woman needs to be able to speak like this.
That's right.
Confidently, and we can talk more about it, but that tell me about yourself script, like we've got to be able to get that done well.
Yeah. And that is where, and we can go on to that, that is where a lot of us women and men, people in general, they get stuck with, tell me about yourself. And there's a pause there when you're asked it. There's usually a pause there because we have to think about it. What parts do you want to know? Or I don't even know myself enough to tell you about myself, right? Because we don't know how to bring the professional into the personal, and we don't know how to balance that, I think. So what I know that you talk about that a lot. So what does that mean? How does one answer that question, or a good way to step into that?
Yeah, I think about it in terms of owning your narrative. We start with like taking an inventory. So, and for your listeners, we're going to have a worksheet, like a workbook that I created with a free training for them to go through this exercise. So this is something you want to spend time doing. It's not something you want to do in 5 minutes and hurry through it. This should be like live rent free in your mind forever and ever. And it'll evolve over time, but we're going to start by taking an inventory. So assess yourself across your hard skills, your soft skills. What are your core competencies? If you are in a leadership position, what leadership skills do you demonstrate? And then we want to map out our passions and our like what our wins are and what our growth areas are. So what do I care about? What have I accomplished? Like top 3, like marquee headlines. If I was going to be at a theater, like what's the thing in my career that I'm most proud of? And then what am I growing in? Because everybody is growing. Everyone should be improving, learning new skills. So we should talk about that because it demonstrates self-awareness and personal growth. And then the formula that I create for my clients, that you sort of practice and get this like crystal clear, you can say it in your sleep, then it can come out more organically. But we start with the script of like, my name is Kristin, my experience ranges across insert 3 expert skills. I'm most proud of my work on, and then describe your marquee accomplishment. I'm currently focused on improving X by doing Y. So like I'm not just like, oh, I'm dabbling in AI, like what are you doing around that? And then I'm passionate about, whatever, because of reason. For example, I sit on the board of US Hunger. It's a national food nonprofit. I'm passionate about it because I believe everyone should have equitable access to food. Absolutely. And so once you can say that confidently, you can add a flair and add your personality to it. But this is something you can practice with your loved ones at home, with your kiddos in the car, with yourself in the car. Just get comfortable answering that question, because what we don't want to do is freeze. So we just want to be confident in answering that question.
Agreed. And I would tell the audience to use something that one of my coaches told me many years ago. Until we have that developed and practiced, it's okay. She said, tell me to put sticky notes. Put them up on your steering wheel, put them on the dashboard. You can practice these things as you're driving down the street. So do whatever you need to do to practice that. And as you said, like anything else, practice makes perfect. And the more you do, the better you become at that and everything else that you're working to and towards. So in your opinion, what roles does personal branding play in influence and credibility, especially for women in leadership? And then too, this is for entrepreneurs as well. And a lot of entrepreneurs, I think they really need this, especially if they're those budding entrepreneurs, ones that are first getting into entrepreneurship. As you know, it is a sea of confusion. And so we forget about ourselves from a personal brand aspect because we're so busy trying to build this business.
Absolutely. I'm going to answer for the entrepreneurship first, because I'm doing a half-day workshop on this in a month or so for a women's group in my community, and it's very top of mind for me. I was asking the event coordinator, like, what does your audience need? And she's like, all the people in my group are entrepreneurs. They have great products, but they can't even make eye contact with people. If you ask them what's great about their product, like they will be dismissive of it. They're not great at talking about themselves. They're kind of nervous talking about themselves. And I think we're very much like out of buying a product for a product's sake, right? Like there's 1,000 types of every type of product. Like, a water bottle, this is one of 10,000 water bottles on the market. Like this is nothing special compared to another water bottle. No shade to Stanley. I love the water bottle, but it's a water bottle. And so why do you buy the water bottle from one brand versus another? Or, and as an entrepreneur, you're wanting to think that, like, why would someone buy my product over someone else? And the answer is like, they're buying it from you as a person, and your personal brand is developing that. So they're wanting to know, can I trust this person? Do I want to give them my money in exchange for a product or service, especially a service? You've got to build an even deeper layer of trust there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so your personal brand, if you're not confident in yourself, that's immediately going to come across. It's going to flag to someone that, like, I don't know if I want to, buy from them. And I have a coach. I'm in a program right now, and my coach Macy will always say, like, however like boastful you think you sound when you're talking about your product, bring it up 10 notches, because like it is not enough. And so I think for entrepreneurs, personal brand, people are buying from you. Like they're buying from what your brand stands for, what your company stands for. And if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything, is I think the saying. And so they need to be able to identify with the brand. And if you feel like you can't identify with the brand, then they definitely can't. So I think really thinking about that, and Jenny, I'm sure you work with your clients on this, like really thinking about that as an entrepreneur and like what matters to me. I love a good core values exercise of just like what matters to me, what does this brand stand for, and what is the through line in everything that I talk about in my company. There's got to be like a through line or a theme that I'm talking about, so everybody knows Jenny stands for image, and like that is crystal clear. There's no confusion there.
Yeah. And it took me a while to get there as well when I first started out, because this was something new. I'm embarking on something that I was not familiar with at all. I thought it was just styling, but image is so much deeper than that. And from the branding standpoint, we are the business, and if we are entrepreneurs, then we don't have the big marketing dollars that organizations have to put their brand out there. So more than not, we are the face of the brand. We are the face of the business, and we are the first line of communication for the business. So you have to be able to draw that person in so that they will be not only interested in your service or your product, but what you are presenting to them is going to pique their interest. Wow, I wonder what they do. Let me go talk to them. And then I always say that, it's like we're like a book cover. People are going to be attracted to the book cover. And then they're going to want to, if they are, they're going to want to naturally open it up and find out what's inside. Same applies to us. And so how we present ourselves, how we communicate visually, that visual trust, I believe. And again, that's a silent communicator. I call it a silent commercial. So that we are walking billboards, and so that comes through that. It's an energy and it is felt, and it's going to either open a door or close the door. And so why wouldn't we want to do what's necessary to make sure those doors stays open for us? Just kind of leaning back on what you said about that. And you talked about, and I'm kind of skipping some, going from here to there.
No, you're fine.
But writing a book, and I've known for so long how impactful it can be to write a book. And like you just launched your book.
Yes.
What made you write the book, which you already know, but for those that are listening that are not brand experts, what made you write the book, and how did it help you build your own personal brand, or how will it help you be that you just launched it? How do you think that impacts?
The process of writing the book for me finally crystallized exactly what my brand was, and I have full conviction over it. And so what made me write the book is I was in a public speaking training program for women with Jess Ekstrom called Speaker Sisters. And I was learning how to write a keynote. I really wanted to be a public speaker. I was like, people pay me to talk. This is great. My dad's been telling me quiet, you could talk to, as a kid, I was like, you're always talking too much. And now I'm like, wait, you can get paid to talk? This is great. I've been doing this since a kid. So for me, I was building the keynote and I actually thought I have a lot of content. I actually think I could write a book out of this. And it never crossed my mind before then, just seeing that it was possible, seeing other people do it. And so I worked with a book coach who was incredible and kind of helped me bring it to light. But as I was writing, I knew I wanted it to be about leadership. I'm incredibly passionate about the state of affairs our workplaces are in now and the impact it's having on our entire world and communities and what we could do to change it. And I believe a lot of it's in our control. And so for me, going through writing the book really crystallized for me, what do you stand for? Because if you're putting it on paper and you're selling it and it's going to be held in someone's hand, it's printed, and it's scary to put yourself out there and have a perspective, especially in our modern day world where you get crucified online if you have certain perspectives. And so I was honestly, what held me back in the beginning of writing the book was, do I want to put myself out there? Do I want to have a strong perspective? And then I felt it's my obligation to have this perspective, and share it with people and try to make the world what I believe would be a better place. And so I've been nicknamed the Mama Bear Leader for probably a decade and a half now. The plaque behind me says Mama Bear. It's from my team that named me that. And for me, it was the Mama Bear Leader was just crystal clear what my brand was. And what's been amazing is putting this book out there, hearing how many people have said, I love the title. I've always felt like I was that kind of a leader and I couldn't put words to it, or I thought I was crazy and by myself thinking this way. And it was just really fun to watch that emerge over the past few days. My book came out yesterday morning. So it's really been great to hear the feedback. So, creating a sense of community, I guarantee you, no matter what your personal brand is, someone else aligns with you, and probably a whole community of people align with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when you put yourself out there, you're going to find your people, and then you know what you don't stand for or what you're not for, and that's really important, especially as an entrepreneur. You really have to just know those boundaries. And it helps your messaging be more clear, and people really follow along with what you're offering.
They do, and everyone is going to have an opinion. That's what we have.
Absolutely.
Everyone is going to have an opinion. We are not going to connect with everyone. Our message is not going to resonate with everyone, but it's not for everyone. It's for those who need you, those who can, who resonates with our stories. And as you mentioned, you can write a whole story with a whole book with content, but then we create millions of stories over years. During a day, we collect so many stories. If we were to just sit down and write those stories, and it's incredible our experiences through each day. It's a learning experience somewhere in there. It's an aha moment in there. It's that this is what I won't do. These are not the people. These are the people that I don't care to be around again. But you write experiences as to why these things impacted you in that way. A book is really a book of your own stories, based off of your experiences. And so we're not really concerned with what other people. It's important when you're talking about selling something, but again, the people that are going to buy that book are the people that are for you and that resonates with you and your story. So
what mattered to me was like, as long as I had language in my book that was inclusive to everyone, that mattered. And I did not ever want a comment to come out of like, oh, that felt like it was excluding a group, or like that was imperative to me. And I had like experts in diversity to like read some sections and be like, hey, is this okay? Like that really mattered to me. But other than that, like I've heard the saying, like, you can be the juiciest, most ripe peach in the world, but some people just don't like peaches. Like some people just don't like Kristin, and that's okay.
Right. It's okay. It's okay.
It's fine. I'm not for everyone.
Yeah, imagine if everyone that you encounter just loved you.
Yeah, that would be overwhelming for me.
You would never grow because you feel like everything is all right. That you're perfect. There's no need for change, and there's no need to evolve. So right now, leadership and growth is about embracing the flaws and what and things that people don't like, and evolving on our own terms for us, and then of course that's going to impact those around us, so to speak. So. Yeah, we talked about, or you talk about also, Kristin, the real cost of bad branding. And there is a cost to that, and people don't realize it. So if you can touch on that a bit, what's the impact of that?
Yeah, so I'll share that through a story. So I've worked with many great people in my career and a couple bad eggs, and I worked with someone who was a really dismissive colleague, hated collaboration, made everything really difficult, just did not want to play in the same sandbox nicely. And I didn't get it, but I was like, it's outside of I've done everything I possibly can. If we don't want to be on the same page, that's fine. I ultimately left the company because it wasn't. That was a part of an ecosystem that didn't work for me. Fast forward years later, I have a pretty strong network that I like care for deeply. And a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn or text and say, hey, I'm recruiting so-and-so, or what do you think about this person? And a recruiter came to me and said, hey, I see that you worked with this person, because side note on personal branding, things like your references for companies, like they're not just calling the people you give them on your list, they're digging deep into finding your like skeletons in your closet via who you're connected to on LinkedIn. Yeah. I guarantee you this person did not put me as a reference on their job application, but I ended up on a phone with the recruiter. Oh, wow. And so, they said, how do you think, like, does this person work well with others? Were they collaborative? All these questions. And I was honest. I tried to be really respectful, because I don't believe in ever just like totally blowing someone up, or, throwing them completely under the bus, because everybody has their own story. But I shared my experience working with this person. And apparently that influenced them. They were going to make an offer to this person, and they ended up not making an offer because of that call. And, it made me think, like, a personal brand isn't just a hypothetical concept. It has a long shelf life and real world consequences. And it doesn't mean you're flawless. It could have been a scenario where this person, we had a project go sideways and they were on one side of the fence and I was on the other, but they were really collaborative about it and did a retro with me and tried to work through it. Like, it doesn't mean you're not making mistakes. I make mistakes every day, but it wasn't no commitment to grow. There's no commitment to collaborate. And so, you people never forget how you make them feel. And I didn't forget how that person made me feel years later. And it unfortunately influenced a job that they had probably had no idea I even had that influence on them. And so that could also, we could reverse that into a really positive story too. Like, I could have gotten that call and I love that person and I boasted about them and the recruiter was like, wow, someone I called out of the blue, like, love that person. Great. Like, I'm a definite yes for bringing them on, and maybe I'll give them the higher salary range that they're asking for because Kristin thinks they're so great. And so it can work both ways. But this is what I mean when we kind of circling back to how we started is like, what do people say about you when you're out of the room? Like, when you're never in the room, how are people talking about you? That is your personal brand. And you want to make sure that you, except for the few people that'll just always talk bad about you, like, you have a lot of influence over how people talk about you when you're not in the room. Are they standing up going, absolutely, I love Jenny. She's a hard worker. She's committed. She communicates well. That's the kind of stuff that you want people to be saying. And that's done through actions and intentionality with your brand over time.
And you have to be very intentional about building that brand. Again, knowing what your goals are, knowing who you are, first of all, and how you want to be perceived, and then you position yourself. And not just posing, but that person really becoming who you are. So it's just natural when you're in a room with others, and it's just a natural, confident presence without being overbearing, without feeling like you have to be the loudest person in the room or in the space, but just your presence alone speaks to the person that you are. I believe that it really does speak to who you are, and it helps build that brand, it helps build the credibility. And then you're bringing a sense of authenticity into the space. That's always important, not to try to pretend to be someone else. Because when we're building a brand, it's natural to try and mimic someone else that you admire, but you get lost in that and you lose your own identity along the way. So just
and that's an exercise that you can even do. I'm sure that's a quick journaling of like, who do I admire most, and what about them do I admire, and am I striving towards becoming acquiring that type of a skill or being able to communicate in that way? And then what are you going to do to bridge the gap between, I'm always thinking about like Kristin and future Kristin. Like, what would future Kristin do today to be the future Kristin down the road? And so that's kind of how I think about it. So yeah, I mean, you definitely, there's great parts, but everybody's unique, and that's the awesome thing about you is nobody else is you. And so lean into that.
Authenticity, like I said, and being genuine. I always say in my work, and when I'm working with people, we're not just working on the woman that's in front of me. We're working on the future, your future self. Who do you want to evolve, or what do you want to evolve into? And a lot of times when people think about branding and image, they instantly think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to change all of these things about me. That's not necessarily true. We're just refining, for one, and we're helping you to elevate that person. And sometimes you do have to allow some habits, some behaviors to fall by the wayside in order to be the better. And this is it's thrown around so much, but in order to be the better version of yourself, that's a real thing.
I'm going through that right now. I used to, so I was raised in a household that always cursed. My mom would be horrified if I was saying this, but like, we're from Boston. There's a lot of cursing. Like, it just, it's just how we were. But I have a coach that's like, we never curse. It's not who we are, because no one's ever going to meet you and like say, oh, I really like Kristin, but I wish she like cursed a little bit more. But they are going to meet you potentially and say, loved everything Kristin did, would love to hire her as a coach, but her mouth was like, it just didn't align for me. And so I've been on a journey over the past year of eliminating curse words from my vocabulary. And as someone who has worked in like really heavily male dominated workspaces that use them all the time, and I worked with like men in sales rooms for like a lot of my career, and it's just like no shade to men, women were in those rooms cursing too, but it was just like kind of like a pit environment, like a little gritty, Wolf of Wall Street-esque in some of my jobs. And I've just really come to realize like there's no value in it, and I have to remove it from my life. And it's not changing who I am, like you said, but it is an elevation. I'm just stepping into that next version of myself, and it's uncomfortable, and I mess up, and I have a partner, my husband's very supportive, so he'll be like, oh, you curse, like, don't say it. But yeah, it's just a practice. It's a practice for sure.
And again, like you said, it's uncomfortable, but growth is uncomfortable. If you're moving into a direction that we are not used to, others around us are not used to, we lose people, we lose things sometimes, and you have to be okay with that. I learned when I started my business back in 2014, going through a personal brand journey of my own, it really helped me to see myself as someone different from the standpoint that I didn't want to do the things that I used to do. I didn't want to speak the way that I used to speak. I've never been a person that cursed a lot, but I've always known that there are other words and better words that we can use in place of those, and they still have the same impact depending on the tone that we use. We might want to be nice when we're using those words, or we might just want to tell a person how we feel. But using those words and replacing those words, the curse words, I can't think of what I'm trying to say, with those words can have, like I said, just as much impact as using the profanity. What I was trying to say. Kristin, if someone was trying to get to connect with you, how would they be able to do that and learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah. If you want to follow and get just kind of leadership content, my Instagram is Mama Bear Leadership Co. And then my website is mamabearleader.com. And like I said, there's a free resource for all of your audience around kind of developing your personal brand as a leader, which they're sharing up on the screen now. So just the mamabearleader.com/brand. Free training. It's a video and a workbook. I'm a workbook girly. I love like a good worksheet to work through some stuff. So it's got that included in there.
Good. You almost have to have them, Or everything becomes real, it becomes a reality. So that's good.
Yep, exactly.
We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and we will continue the conversation.
Great.
You're not just building a career, you're building a reputation and that of your business. At People Power Consultancy, we coach ambitious professionals to refine their image and shape a personal brand that opens doors. Because the way you show up is your message. If you're tired of blending in, second-guessing your presence, or feeling unseen, this is your moment to stand out with purpose and polish. Visit peoplepowerconsultancy.com to start your transformation. Your next level has a look. Let's define it.
Okay, we are back. I am here talking with Kristin Haluch. She is the CEO of the Mama Bear Experience. She is the personal brand expert, a leadership coach. And so she's here sharing her perspective and her experience around personal branding and leadership. And Kristin, you mentioned earlier in the conversation that you have 7 principles of human-centered leadership. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that with the audience so they can have an idea of what that is?
Absolutely. Happy to. So these are 7 that I've developed. They're kind of what I've seen and experienced. So first is be self-aware, which I think we're covering beautifully in this conversation today. Second is know your people. So I say not just their coffee order. We've got to know them more deeply than that. Although my coffee order is just a hot black coffee, if you're getting me one. Third is communicate clearly. So you had mentioned earlier, like, not being louder in the room. One of my principles is we don't lead louder, we lead clearer.
Yes.
Fourth is teaching to hunt and gather. So we've got to be able to teach our team to do it for themselves, or we're going to be in the cycle of constantly putting fires out. Anticipate and adapt. So even the best leaders come across unexpected situations. We've got to be able to anticipate and adapt that. Giving and receiving tough love, being able to give feedback and communicate that deserves its own outside of the communicate clearly. And then the make lifelong connections. So that to me is your personal brand, its impact on lifelong connections that you have. And then a principle that I call the networking, the Mama Bear Leader networking standards.
Those are good. I was in a conversation, so to speak, or an exchange with someone today. And as they were speaking, first it was a little, back and forth. And so I had to remind myself, I know better than this, so let me sit back and let me listen to what this person has to say and see if there's any validity in what they're saying. And when it was, or when I could clearly hear what their concerns, I had to let them know, okay, I receive that. Now, just because I say I receive it doesn't make it actual. But I want you to know that I'm hearing you. I hear what you're saying. I'm listening. I receive it. And I'll put it in the back of my mind and I'll revisit it to see if it really is any real validity to it. And if it is, then it's my responsibility to work on that so that the next time we are having a conversation and an exchange or an interaction, I have been intentional about making sure that you don't feel this way again. However, if I feel like this is just your own personal perspective, or this is something that you are dealing with personally, then we will talk about that as well. So I was glad we had that conversation, because after that, I think they felt better. I know I felt better, but communication and clarity is everything. So as long as we are clear and understanding of where we stand, where our boundaries are, then again, that's a part of branding too, being able to listen and admit our shortcomings and being able to adjust when and where necessary. So that's
absolutely. Yeah, and I think we live in a world now where everything's so polarizing, and it's like if we disagree, we're like on different sides of the universe, and like it's you against me. And like I just miss, I don't know, the good old days where like we could just have different opinions and respectfully do that. And I could hear your perspective, you could hear mine, and then we could go, okay. And then we would just like bop along our day and like have a popsicle and like move on with our lives. Exactly. And so for me, like, I think like there's so many, I do a whole training on having a hard conversation. And I think most people are bad at it because one, we're never taught how to have a hard conversation. We're never taught how to give constructive feedback, especially as leaders. You get promoted and they're like, bye, you got to put 3 people on a PIP next week. Like, best of luck. With zero training other than like what HR makes you do. And so for me, I just really think that we lose so much time and stress and everything. Like, we lose literal sleep over thinking about this talk that we have to have. And it is almost never as big as it is in our mind, right? Like, it's like, for me, it's like the equivalent of like having to work out. It's like, I could think about the workout for 12 hours today. And then it's like the worst possible thing I have to do. And then I just do it. And it's like, okay, it's done. Like,
and you have to talk.
We just have to have the conversations. I just invite everyone, whatever conversation you're like putting off, just have it. It's okay. It's probably not going to go as bad as you think. The person, I can almost guarantee you, probably knows it needs to happen too, whoever the other person in that scenario is, and they're probably going to be relieved that it got brought up. So yeah, I think we could all get better. It is a constant practice of just having the hard conversation. And the more you do it, especially as a leader or business owner, I would say like at times it gets easier, but it just gets more normalized. And if you accept feedback as a leader and you give feedback and it's constant, then you're never in this anxiety mode of like, oh, I have to go put someone on a performance improvement because you've had 25 conversations with them by then. Like nothing should be a performance improvement plan should never be a surprise. Someone should
They know.
be able to write it themselves about their performance by the time it comes.
But they'll make it, you know, sometimes that person will make it my fault, so to speak, not me, but the other person's fault, because they don't want to take accountability for their actions or for their lack of performance.
Yeah.
I read this book called the Oz Principles. It's a great book on accountability, taking responsibility for what's not working in your world, in your profession, how did you add to that, and where did you play a role in that not working out the way you wanted it to work out or the way it should be worked out? And again, having those conversations, or people having those conversations when you're not in the room. And the I guess it can be scary depending on where you want to go, and you think you're showing up and you're doing all the things that you feel that you should be doing in order to be recognized and tapped on the shoulder for those promotions or that client that you've been really hoping you get. And these conversations are going on when you're not there, and you have no idea, but you don't know why you're being blocked from promotions. You don't know why that client didn't sign when you sent them the proposal. It's because conversations are had, whether it's within a room of people, whether it's between two people. Conversations are being had about you, and that's why intentionality is so important. Now, we cannot control what people say, but we can create the narrative. We can't, it's our responsibility to create to create what we leave behind.
Absolutely. So my husband and I, in addition to my leadership, we run a company together, and we have a team, and one of our we were very intentional about what our core values were. And our team is graded on them on a quarterly basis because they are the ethos of how we operate. And one of them is no shoulds. You cannot say the word should at our company. You shouldn't have done anything. You do it. So if they miss something and they're like, oh, I should have sent that email. You don't say I should have sent the email. You say, I'm going to send the email today. Like, what are you doing?
The email. I didn't send the email. I'm going to get on it today. Or like you said,
I should have done it. Like, nope, there's no shoulds here, because you are in control. Like, yes, there are bad leaders and there are bad cultures and there are companies that suck and they're not going to support you no matter what. And if you're in that scenario, I hope that you find someone to help you get out of it. But for the majority of the time, I think I think for the leader and for the employee, we've got to take accountability for what we're responsible for.
Right.
And we either take accountability by leaving the environment or changing the environment. Those are your two options.
Yeah.
You applied, you asked them to hire you. You've been hired now. And so if you don't like it, you have two choices. You either stay or you go. And I know that statement can come, like, that is an element of privilege. Like, some people can't leave, they need to pay their bills. I totally get that. And you should then find a way to get yourself out if you're truly in a bad work environment. But for the most of us, we're just like, I don't like it. And I can attest, because I've been this person, the next place isn't going to be that much better anyway. So because it's what you make of it, you control it. And so taking that accountability is huge.
And you'll be surprised that when the others in the room, in the office, when they're watching you and they're seeing how you're handling certain situations, they begin to mimic your behavior. You'll see them and you'll notice little things about them that has changed over time. And eventually, I'm not saying that the whole office is going to conform and change, but you make the best of that situation and you show up as your authentic self every day. Don't let your environment change who you are or how you show up. Because again, they hired you based on the qualities that they've seen in you, but beyond the resume. During the interview, they saw something in you that they felt was going to be an asset for that company, that organization. So I won't say that one person can change an entire company, but you can make an impact. You can certainly.
Absolutely. And maybe you make a micro impact just on your 3-person team.
That's
And then
right.
that team is going home having more connected nights with their kids or their friends because they're not as stressed. Like that ripple effect is powerful enough. Like look at your immediate ecosystem and decide how you can influence and impact that. I think sometimes it's like, well, the whole company sucks, so like I can't do anything about it. And I've been there, and that situation's not fun. But can you make your own little microcosm that you're in every single day a good one to be a part of?
Yeah.
And to your point, like that people are watching you, absolutely. Like perception, one of the things my first boss ever said to me when she was writing me up and I was on my first and final warning for my attitude at work. This is part of in my book, but she said perception is reality. It does not matter that you're the top performer. Your attitude isn't fun to be around and people don't want to be around you. And I was like 22 at the time. I'm like, whoa, like mind blown.
Yeah. Even if you feel that, you know, whatever their perception is inaccurate, it doesn't matter because
it doesn't matter. It was
true for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was true for them, and it mattered to me because I wanted to keep my job, and so I had to figure out how to change, and it was really hard. I ended up getting multiple promotions, and did really well at that company, and have great memories of it. But it took someone really saying that to me to really like rewired a part of my brain when I heard that.
And when we say change, when you say change, or when I talk about change, I'm talking about not, you said you had to change, and not the person, not the essence of who you are, but you change some of your behavior, you change your attitude, you change some of your behavior perhaps in order to become a more inclusive person, a more pleasurable person to be around. I won't say fun because you're at work, but you can have fun at work too, people. Everyone doesn't have to be rigid and matter of fact all the time, but you were willing to make those changes because you realized that if you didn't, you were going to be where you were in that moment. You weren't going to go any further with the attitude that you have. And so when I've worked with a few young entrepreneurs that have come to me, and their attitude has always been, well, I'm my own boss. You're never your own boss because your clients, they're your boss too. You know what I mean? You have that commitment to your clients. So just because you're an entrepreneur, I had a salon for over collectively for over 20 years. And I had clients, but I couldn't call off of work if I didn't want to go to work on Tuesday. I'm just not going to go in. I'm not going to call the clients. But even if I did, I'm not going to reschedule. It can't become a pattern because you lose, like you lose opportunities, you lose clients. So for any entrepreneur starting out here thinking that you're going to have the freedom of time, that you're going to have the freedom of space and the freedom to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, entrepreneurship, I mean, like I said, my husband and I have owned a business for 10 years. It's a totally separate thing from my coaching, but it is exhausting. It is grueling. It is tiring. We own our business outright 100%. We have staff, but we have customers, and those customers, one customer upset enough can make our lives really, really miserable. It can hurt our reputation. It can hurt our brand. It can lose our contract in the state. Like, we work in education, and there's a lot of things at play. And so for me, it's constantly thinking like, if somebody brought us up in a room, what would they say? I want them to like, and if I don't think with certainty that they're going to say what I want them to say, something's got to give, something's got to change.
That's right. And recognizing that and understanding that, everything may not always be perfect. Well, it's not ever going to be perfect, but the conversations, you have the power to create those conversations, those positive conversations, and make those positive impressions. You have that power to do that. And so we're talking about, you mentioned, the world that we live in. And so we're living in a world that is, AI is going to work for us. We just can't have it to be a crutch. But people also want genuine connections. They want real connections, and they want to connect. We talked about that with people, real people.
Absolutely.
Why do you believe in leadership that it requires more humanity? Because again, AI is stepping in, and it's really shifting some things.
Yeah, I think AI is great for process automation, and like I love it for that. Like it can allow us to work at, we call it in healthcare, like the top of your license. Like you don't want your brain surgeon ordering the gloves. You just want him to walk in the room and operate on the brain. He can't be thinking about the gloves. So for me, it's like, can AI help us order the gloves so we can be thinking about the surgery of whatever our work is? To me, I think we are the most connected society we've ever been because of the internet and social media. And we're also like the loneliest and most depressed and most anxious. And so like the hyper connectivity is not helping us in terms of our mental well-being. So I believe that in a world of AI, human-centered leadership is even more important than it was even a year ago when I started writing this book or doing, this version of this work. I think people are craving real conversation, real connection, being seen, feeling heard. And yes, a robot you can talk to and share some of your deepest things and hope that it's not going out into like the internet ether. But I think we crave human connection, and people crave boundaries. They crave understanding expectations. They want clarity. And yes, AI may take some jobs away. It's also going to create a whole new set of jobs that we don't even know what those are yet. Like there's titles of jobs that don't exist today that my son will have, someday in the future. And so I think human connection is more important now than ever. And I think bringing it back to basics and being able to talk to each other and connect and have conversation and learn about one another is a skill that will absolutely set you apart as we continue down the AI path. I think that kind of, if I was going to draw a chart, like the gap between like who can do that and who can't is widening, and the people who can connect on a human level are going to step the others. Absolutely.
So we can't even hold conversations anymore. Real conversations. It's a struggle for people to be able to communicate and express themselves because they're so used to, and I'm not just putting this on AI, I'm putting it on social media in general. We're on our devices all day long. Even in our work, we're constantly on our computers doing something. Reading is going to always be good. There's nothing that can replace that because reading is just going to enhance.
I know. I'm a lover of books. I was like adamant about I used AI for like 2 questions in my book, but like other than that, I was like, this coming out of my brain. Like I wanted to be,
and that's why
I just think we need to be able to connect on a human level. And I think people, entrepreneurs, leaders who are doing that are just going to be light years ahead of people. I think you also have to know the AI skills because like that is the future of like, that's a core competency skill that you need on your resume. But how you're going to talk about it, communicate it, like AI doesn't just create yes, it creates on its own, but it's also creating based on your prompts. So how well you can communicate impacts that as well.
That's right. I agree. And like you said, and we've said that AI is good for what it's good for, but it should never replace human connection. Should never replace that. And so, Kristin, this was good. It was really good. I enjoyed having you here. And for someone who's listening, who knows they have the expertise that they need, they have the skills, they have the expertise, the hard skills, but they are struggling to fully own their space, their visibility. What would you want them to remember from this conversation?
I would want them to remember to start with, why are you doing it? Like, why do I want to coach women to get into leadership positions? Like, I could give a TED talk on that. I won't, because we're almost out of time. But like, what is your personal why? What is it like? Why does it matter to you? And if you don't have a good enough reason, like it's not going to be compelling to someone else.
Yeah.
And so spend time with yourself, spend time getting your narrative down, getting your why down, and being able to confidently at least answer the question, like, tell me about yourself. Because that is that first impression. And I'm sure, Jenny, there's a whole physical component to it we didn't even talk about today, but that first impression, it's happening in probably like split second.
Seconds now, yes.
And it matters so much. And so really be intentional about it. Your brand exists whether you're creating it or not. And so be the architect of your own story.
And it's easy. You just have to think about, be intentional. Again, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? You know, and even in every room that you enter, whether that's networking, whether that's meeting a client for one-on-one, if that's work, whatever it is, what do you want to accomplish in that? And then you just position yourself for that. Visually, communicatively, all of it. You have to bring all of that to the table because, again, you mentioned there are so many people out here that are doing the same things that you and I do. There's so many people out here in the market doing the same thing. But so what is your differentiator? What is that going to be? They may be meeting whoever you're meeting with or interviewing with. They're going to be interviewing or meeting someone else that have that same skill. But what's going to keep you top of mind? So again, be intentional about your brand and make sure that you're leaving a lasting positive impression on those that are around you. And if a person could shift one thing today, after they're listening, they're going to use something else because you've given a lot of tools or tips today. But if they wanted to shift something like right away, what do you think that would be? Or what can you offer?
Shift as a mindset?
It could be a mindset or something to strengthen the way they show up, their confidence, shifting their confidence and how they show up. Again,
yeah, I would say practice your tell me about yourself script. If the safest place to do it is in the car, by yourself in the car or in the shower, practice it. Because if you can confidently share in 30 seconds who you are, what you do, why you care, why you bring value to a conversation, and then try to weave it into everyday conversations, like when you're talking to your barista or your, like the guy you get your sandwich from. Just share. People are going to remember how you make them feel.
That's right.
And so just practice it, get comfortable with it. Never, I want everyone who hears this to never, ever like have butterflies in their stomach again when they're asked like, oh, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
It's a question we answer all the time. We should be great at it.
That's so true. And I love that you call Maya Angelou's quote the golden quote. It's one of my most favorite quotes too. I use it in a few of my webinars because it's so true.
Absolutely.
People will never forget how you made them feel. They may forget what you say. They may forget how you
what you did, what you said, any of it, but how they will always remember how you made them feel. And you can think about a positive and a negative in that in your own life. I guarantee you right now, people come to mind. Just think about how do you want people to leave feeling with an interaction with you? Something as small as getting a coffee from them at a coffee shop to, pitching them on your product as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So that's good. So the listening audience, I hope that you were able to write some of this information down, and we appreciate you joining in and spending time with us this evening. We know that you could be anywhere else, but you decided to be here with us, and we thank you for that. And so I am Jenny Dewberry, certified international image consultant. And if you want to learn more about me, this is the Image Connection Show. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe and share and tell a friend about the show as well. My website is peoplepowerconsultancy.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn as Jenny Dewberry, and you can find me on IG as Jenny D_People Power Consultancy. So again, no, I'm sorry. IG is just Jenny D_People Power. All right. So again, thanks for joining me, Kristin. This was good. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. Until next time. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Image Connection Show. We truly appreciate you being here. We hope you'll join us again. And don't keep it to yourself. Invite a friend to tune in too. If you're ready to gain insightful tips, tools, and strategies to enhance your image, brand, and help you along your entrepreneur journey, this is where you want to be. I'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, keep showing up with purpose, presence, and power.